Captain Reed forced open the warped metal door. His flashlight beam cut through dust and drifting wires as he stepped into the silent research base. A faint clang echoed, slow and heavy like a hammer on iron. He followed the sound, heart pounding. He tasted metal in the air, felt static cling to his skin. Each breath sounded too loud in the empty hall. The main chamber appeared, lit by a single red lamp. In the center stood a cage of thick alloy bars, chains as wide as Reed's arm stretched, from ceiling cranes to a towering figure inside. She was an alien woman, nearly 3 meters tall, wrists locked high above her head, ankles cuffed to the floor. Another clang sounded when she tried to pull free. Electricity sparked along the chain links and she gasped in pain, then sagged. Reed raised both hands to show he carried only the light. "Easy, I am not from this lab," he said. She stared, unsure whether to trust him. A steel collar around her neck bore cold text. Specimen 47B, non-breeding class. Reed had heard rumors that the military marked some aliens as useless for family life, turning them into test subjects. She spoke in broken trade tongue. "Leave me, I am a failed one." Her words were low and raw. Reed stepped to the control console beside the bars. He scanned flickering screens until he found a manual release. Sparks popped when he flipped the lever down. The bars slid aside and the chains slackened. The woman sagged forward. Reed rushed and caught her giant frame. Her weight drove him to one knee, but he held on. Even weakened, her arms felt like braided steel cables. She waited for pain that did not come, then looked at him with stunned confusion. He eased her to the floor and wrapped a survival blanket around her shoulders. She stared at the soft fabric as if it were treasure. Reed asked, "What is your name?" She shook her head, "Number only." He smiled gently. "Names matter. Choose one." After a pause she whispered, "Ava?" A sudden rumble rocked. The base, automated self-destruct protocols had triggered. Yellow lights flashed and a robotic voice announced final purge. Reed stood, offering his hand. "Ava, we must go now." She hesitated, then placed her large palm in his. They moved. Through dark halls littered with broken machines. Siren beacons pulsed quietly. Ava scraped the ceiling beams, yet followed fast. At a fork, a fallen support beam blocked the exit tunnel. Reed searched for another route, but saw none. Ava stepped forward. She planted her feet, bent her knees, and lifted the beam with a deep grunt. Metal screeched yet rose. Reed hurried under, then steadied the beam while Ava ducked through. She released it, and the passage shook behind them. Outside, chill night air rushed over scorched ground. Twin moons hung low, painting silver light. Across the hills, in the distance, flames climbed from the lab as inner fuel cells ignited. Ava watched the glow. That place was my whole sky," she whispered. Reed answered, "Now the sky is bigger." A light shuttle lay hidden beside a ridge. Reed tapped a code and the hatch opened. The cabin was cramped for her height, yet she folded inside with surprising grace. He buckled her harness, then ran preflight checks while fire reached higher behind them. The shuttle lifted, dust swirling beneath. Through the viewport, the base erupted, sending orange clouds into space. Ava flinched, expecting punishment from above, but Reed placed his hand over hers. "You are safe," he said. She stared at the gentle pressure, a feeling unknown to her. Until that moment, stars emerged as they climbed. Ava touched the blanket still around her and then her freed wrists, amazed that metal no longer cut her skin. Reed glanced at her profile, strong yet trembling. "We will find a place where chains are only stories," he promised. Ava breathed deep. She spoke slowly, tasting each word. "I am large, strange, and many will fear me." Reed replied, "Your size saved us when you lifted that beam. Strength is a gift." She looked from his earnest face to the endless night outside the hull. Hope, an emotion she had never owned, stirred like a new star. The shuttle slipped into orbit, engines quiet, leaving the burning world behind. Two lives, once strangers, now shared a fragile vessel and an uncertain road. Ava rested her head against the wall and closed her eyes. Not to hide, but to dream for the first time. Inside that dream her chains were already rust, and a small human, Voice echoed, calling her by the name she had chosen for herself. Ava, an alien word for someone finally free, asterisk Ava ran. Not from enemies, but from kindness. Thunder cracked above as cold rain poured down. Her bare feet pounded the wet ground, heavy and loud like drums in the dark forest. Her tall frame moved. Fast between trees, soaked from head to toe. Every step splashed mud. She didn't look back. She COULDN single quotes did dot inside the small shuttle behind her. Captain Reed noticed the open hatch and the survival blanket lying in the doorway. No, he whispered, standing up. He grabbed his light, wrapped a jacket around himself, and sprinted. Out into the storm. Ava, he called, voice echoing through the trees. No answer, only the wind and rain. She had left without sound, left without warning, just gone. And he knew why. Ava ran until her legs began to shake. She stopped at the edge of a steep cliff, breathing hard. Cold rain rolled down her cheeks. She looked over the edge. Mist and rock below. Her body shook not from fear, but from the pain in her heart. Why did he look at me like that? Like I was someone? Reed followed her tracks. He stumbled, slipped, then spotted broken branches leading toward the cliff. He saw her knees down, arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to disappear. Ava, don't do this, he said as he walked closer. She didn't move. Why? She asked without turning. Why are you so kind to me? Reed stopped beside her. Because you matter. She turned her head, water running down her face. Her glowing eyes met his. But I'm not like others. I'm not soft, I'm not beautiful. My people called me useless. My body's too big. I can't give life. Reed crouched down. None of that makes you worthless. She dropped her head. They put me in chains. You gave me a blanket? I don't know what to do with that. There was silence. Just rain falling steady around them. Then Reed took off his jacket and gently draped it over her shoulders. Her breath caught in her throat. No one had ever given her warmth before. Not. Without a price. You saved my life, Reed said softly. When you lifted that beam back in the tunnel, you saved me. Not just with strength. You chose to help me when you could have run. Ava looked at her large hands. My body scares people. Not me, he said. Your body is strong. But your heart is stronger. Her lips trembled. Then, for the first time, she leaned into him, not like a soldier, but like someone who just wanted to be held. He wrapped both arms around her. Her body was cold, wet, and heavy, but he didn't let go. I'm not sure what I am anymore. Ava whispered. You're free now, Reed replied, and you're not alone. As the rain softened into a gentle drizzle, Ava closed her eyes. Her body relaxed in his arms. She was still shaking, but this time it was because something inside her had broken open. Something warm. Something new. Back at the shuttle, Reed lit a small fire outside under the metal shelter. Ava sat beside him in dry clothes he found in storage, still oversized, but warm. She watched the flames, hands out. This is the first fire I've seen that wasn't meant to hurt. Reed looked over. What do you mean? In the lab, they burned my skin to test healing. They used fire for pain. This, she said, motioning to the fire, is... Come, Reed added more wood. Then let's make it your first good memory of fire. She looked at him, unsure what to say. Finally, she whispered, thank you. As night fell, Reed sat close beside her. Their shoulders touched. Ava didn't pull away. She just stared into the flames, wondering if she could become someone new. Someone not defined by chains or pain. The stars peeked out again through parting clouds. Reed pointed to them. Every one of those lights is a place where your story can start fresh. Ava tilted her head back, eyes wide at the endless sky. Do you think there's one place out there where someone like me belongs? Reed smiled. We'll find it together. Ava took a deep breath, then leaned her head lightly against his shoulder. For the first time in her life, she allowed herself to hope. The fire crackled softly as the forest fell quiet. Ava sat close to it, staring into the orange glow like it was something she couldn't understand. Her large hands were open near the warmth, palms facing the light. For a long time she said nothing. Neither did Reed. He didn't ask questions. He just stayed close. The stars moved slowly above them. The forest breeze was gentle now. Reed stood up, pulled a small pot from his pack, and said, "I'll make something warm to eat." Ava blinked, watching him place the pot on the fire. "Why do you keep helping me?" she asked, her voice low. He looked over his shoulder and smiled. "Because I want to." She looked away, confused. No one had ever done something for her without asking something in return. Not on her homeworld, not in the lab. Not anywhere. The smell of soup filled the air. He stirred it gently and then handed her a cup made from a cutwater bottle. Steam rose. Ava took it with both hands, eyes wide. "What is it?" "Something simple. Earth recipe," Reed said. "Tastes better when shared." She stared at the liquid, then slowly sipped it, her lips parted slightly. The warmth spread through her throat. Her eyes softened. Reed noticed something strange. Her shoulders relaxed, just a little. Her chest rose, then fell calmly. And for the first time since he had met her, she smiled, not wide, not forced. A small, quiet curve of the lips. But it was real. Reed didn't speak. He just let the moment breathe. Ava looked at him. "This feeling, it's strange." "That's called comfort," he said gently. She looked down again. "I didn't think someone like me could feel it." Reed tilted his head. "What do you mean by someone like you?" "I was made to be useful, strong, silent. My people removed what they called weakness, emotions, femininity, desire to bond. They said I would never carry a child, never form a mate link. I was labeled non-breeding." Reed listened closely. Ava wasn't just big, she wasn't just scarred. She had been engineered to be unlovable by design. "That's not who you are," he said. "That's who they tried to make you." She didn't answer, but her fingers gripped the cup tighter. Reed pointed to the stars again. "Back on Earth, people used to believe stars were holes in the sky, letting heaven's light shine through." Ava followed his gaze. "Do you believe that?" "I believe that everyone deserves to find one star just for them, even you." Her eyes turned to him slowly. "You think I have a star?" "I think you're already shining like one," he said. A strange silence followed, but it wasn't awkward. It was full of meaning. She set the empty cup down. Then, with careful hands, she picked up a piece of broken metal from beside the fire. Her fingers shaped it slowly, bent, twisted, folded, in minutes. She had turned scrap into a small flower. She handed it to him. "Gift," she said, eyes low. Reed smiled. "Did you just make this?" "Yes, I remember how from before the lab." "Thank you, Ava." She nodded, unsure what to do with his warmth. Then she turned and stood up. Her large form moved toward the river near their camp. Reed followed at a distance, careful not to make her uncomfortable. She knelt by the edge, cupping water in her hands. Then she looked at her reflection. For a long moment she studied herself. The broad shoulders, the sharp eyes, the glowing skin, the wide, muscular build. And then she did something new. She placed one hand on her chest and smiled at her own reflection. Reed, standing nearby, said nothing. He knew not to ruin the moment. Ava walked back slowly. She sat near him again. Her smile had faded, but something in her had changed. "Why do humans smile so much?" she asked. "It's how we show joy or hope or kindness." She looked down. "Then maybe I want to learn how to smile more," Reed grinned. "That's a good place to start." The fire burned lower, but the warmth remained. Ava no longer sat stiff like stone. Her body leaned just slightly toward him. Her breathing was calm. For the first time, she didn't ask if she was too big, too strange, too unworthy, and for the first time, she felt seen not as a failed creation, but as a living, worthy being. That night, Ava slept close to the fire. She curled up. Not like a warrior, but like someone who finally believed she could rest, and as the wind blew gently through the trees, the flower she had made sat beside Reed, a sign of something quietly blooming. Ava jolted awake in the middle of the night. Her breathing was fast, eyes wide. Sweat rolled down her temples even though the night was cold. She sat up quickly, heart pounding. She had dreamed of fire again. But this time, she wasn't chained in the lab. This time, she was running from something soft, something she didn't understand. A gentle voice. A warm hand reaching for her, she rubbed her arms, whispering to herself, "It's just a dream." From across the fire, Reed slowly opened his eyes. He saw her sitting up, hugging her knees. "Bad dream?" he asked softly. Ava nodded without looking at him. Reed stood, walked over slowly, then sat a few feet beside her. Close but not too close. He placed his hand on the ground between them, palm facing up. "I won't touch you unless you want me to," he said gently. She stared at his open hand, not moving. Then she asked, "Why does it scare me?" "What?" he said. "Your hand." She whispered, "It's not sharp, it doesn't hurt. But when I see it, I feel like I can't breathe." Reed didn't pull his hand away. Maybe because no one's ever offered it to you gently. She looked at him slowly. Her eyes searched his face. "You're not afraid of me?" "No," he said. "I've seen strength before, but yours is different. Yours doesn't try to destroy, it protects." Ava's lip trembled. She wasn't crying, but her whole body shook just slightly. "Back in the lab," she said. "They touched me to test. My pain, my skin remembers." She reached up and touched her own shoulder. "Sometimes I feel burns that aren't there anymore." Reed looked down at his hand, still waiting, still open. "Would it be okay if I touched your hand for just 1 second?" "If not, that's okay too." Ava hesitated. Her fingers twitched. Then, slowly, she moved her large hand over his and lightly touched his palm with her fingertips. The moment was silent. His skin was warm. No pain came, just warmth. Just safety. She pulled back quickly and stared at her own hand like it had just done something impossible. "That felt soft," she said quietly. Reed smiled. "That's all it has to be." Ava looked at the stars above. "I didn't know I could feel soft things." "You can feel anything, Ava. You're not broken," he said, for the first time. She leaned toward him, not all the way, but enough for their arms to touch. Her body was strong and heavy, but she moved with care now, not fear. He looked at her. "May I show you something?" She nodded. Reed stood and pulled a small screen from his pack. He tapped a few buttons and a hologram appeared between them. It showed a family, his family on Earth. A child laughed as his mother lifted him into the air. A dog ran in circles around their legs. "That was before the war," Reed said. "That little boy was me." Ava watched quietly. "You had a mother?" "Yes, she was strong too. She wasn't tall like you, but she held the world in her arms." Ava said nothing for a moment. Then she asked, "What happened to her?" Reed lowered the screen. "The war reached our city. I couldn't get back in time." Ava lowered her eyes. "I'm sorry." He nodded. "That's why I help people now. I couldn't save her. But I can try to save someone else." Ava looked at him with new eyes. For the first time, she understood his pain, not just as a soldier, but as a human who had also lost something. She placed her hand back over his. This time, she didn't pull away. Her voice trembled. "I don't want to be afraid of your touch anymore." Reed looked into her eyes. "Then we'll take it slow. No rush. No pressure." She smiled faintly. "You're strange, human." He chuckled. "So are you, Ava." They both laughed quietly under the stars. That night, they sat beside each other, hands lightly touching. Ava didn't flinch. She didn't freeze. She simply felt, and for her that was a miracle. As the fire died down, Ava leaned her head gently onto Reed's shoulder. Her voice was small, nearly lost in the wind. "I never thought I'd want to be close to anyone." Reed didn't answer. He just placed his cheek lightly against her hair. No words were needed. That night, something changed, not in the stars, but inside them, and for the first time her body, once feared and rejected, became a bridge between two hearts. A scream tore through the quiet night. Reed jumped up from his bedroll, heart pounding. The campfire had burned down to glowing embers. A mist hovered over the forest floor. He turned fast. Ava was thrashing in her sleep. Her giant body curled into itself like she was trying to disappear. Her fists clenched, her legs kicked the dirt. "No," she whimpered, voice shaking. "Don't lock me in again. Please, not the fire." Reed rushed to her side. "Ava, wake up, it's just a dream." Her eyes snapped open. She sat up fast, breathing hard like she couldn't get air. Her chest rose and fell in panic. Reed didn't touch her. He remembered she needed time, but his voice was calm. "It's okay. You're safe. No one is going to hurt you." Ava looked around. Her arms trembled, her lips quivered. She tried to speak, but the words caught in her throat. Then suddenly the strong alien girl broke. Tears burst from her eyes. Her tall frame hunched over, and she covered her face with her hands. Her sobs were deep, painful. They shook the earth. "I'm sorry," she cried. "I don't know why this happens. I'm supposed to be strong. They made me strong." Reed knelt beside her. This time, slowly, carefully, he wrapped his arms around her. Ava froze. Then her body gave in. She collapsed into him, burying her face in his chest. She cried like a storm. Her voice cracked. Her breath stuttered. Years of pain came out all at once. They told me I had no soul, that no one would ever love me, that my heart was a failure. She whispered between sobs. Reed held her tighter. They lied. She looked up with wet eyes. "Why do you care so much?" "Because I see who you really are," he said. "And I care because no one ever should have made you feel less." Her lips trembled again, and she hid her face in his chest once more. His hands moved gently over her back, not to claim, not to control, just to comfort. "You're allowed to cry, Ava," he whispered. "Crying doesn't make you weak." She shook her head. "But I'm big, I'm powerful. My tears scare people. They don't scare me." Ava clung to him like he was her last lifeline. The strongest girl in the galaxy curled up like a frightened child in the arms of a human man who never let go. Minutes passed. Her tears slowed. Her breathing became steady. She finally spoke again, voice rough but calmer. "I used to dream of having a home, not a place, a feeling. But they said I wasn't the type for that." Reed looked down at her. "You are the type. You just didn't meet the right person." Ava sat up a little, wiping her face. Her eyes was still red, but her expression was clearer now. She looked like someone who had walked through a storm and made it to the other side. "I feel broken," she said. Reed shook his head. "You're not broken. You're healing." A long silence followed, but this time it wasn't painful. It was soft. Ava's hand moved again toward his. She touched his palm firmer now, with more trust. Her fingers wrapped around his. Then gently she leaned forward. Her forehead touched his. Their breaths mingled. Her voice was a whisper. "I didn't think I was built for love." Reed whispered back. "Love isn't something you're built for. It's something you find when someone sees you as you are." Her voice trembled. "What do you see?" "I see a girl who was told she was unworthy." "But who is more worthy than anyone I've ever met?" Ava didn't speak. She just closed her eyes and stayed there, forehead to forehead, breath to breath. The fire behind them gave a soft glow. And for the first time since her creation, Ava felt what it meant to be. Held not in chains, not in pain, but in love. She fell asleep that way in his arms, her body heavy with peace. And Reed didn't move. He stayed there, holding the strongest, saddest, bravest girl he had ever met. Morning would come soon, but for now, the night belonged only to them. Ava dropped to her knees. One hand pressed hard against her stomach. She didn't scream, but her breath hitched like something inside her had just shifted in a terrible way. Her large frame swayed. Her skin pulsed with strange warmth. Reed rushed to her side, alarm flashing in his eyes. "Ava, what's wrong?" She tried to speak, but her lips barely moved. She looked down at her trembling hands. "Something's not right," she whispered. They had been walking through a quiet valley just hours ago. Ava was laughing for the first time, tossing smooth stones into the river while Reed cooked. But now something deep within her had changed. Her legs gave out fully. Reed caught her just before she hit the ground. He laid her gently under a tree and scanned her with his old military med scanner. Red alerts blinked. For any biological activity, rapid hormonal spikes. Unknown growth detected. His hands trembled as he hit the emergency beacon. The scanner couldn't explain what was happening, but something inside Ava was growing fast. She gripped his sleeve. Voice low. "Is it happening again? Are they breaking me from the inside this time?" "No," Reed said, trying to stay calm. I won't let anyone hurt you, I promise. An hour later, a medical drone arrived. From it stepped an old alien medic, skin lined with age, antennae twitching with concern. She was from Ava's species, but far older and gentle-eyed. She scanned Ava in silence. Her long fingers moved carefully, respectfully. Reed watched closely, ready to protect at the slightest sign of harm. After several minutes, the medic stood up and stared at both of them. Her voice came soft but filled with awe. She is carrying life? Reed blinked. What? The medic nodded. She's pregnant. Ava's eyes widened in shock. No, that's not possible. They said I was barren. I was born sterile. I'm a failed type. They called me non-breeding. The medic stepped closer. That may have been their design, but life has its own path. Reed felt her hand squeeze his. She was shaking. Not from fear, something else. Hope. He crouched beside her. Ava, we didn't think this could happen. But it is. You're not broken. Tears welled in her eyes. She looked down at her flat stomach, then up at him. Are you afraid? He shook his head. No, I'm amazed. She laughed, but it came out like a sob. I don't even know how to be a mother. I was never shown love. I was built. For war, for strength, for pain. Reed gently touched her cheek. Then we'll learn together. You're not alone in this. The old medic knelt and placed a small glowing band around Ava's wrist. This will track the growth. It is early only? The beginning, but the child is strong. Part alien, part human. Ava looked at the medic. Will it survive? The old alien nodded. If you believe in it. And if you let yourself be happy. Ava sat up slowly, holding her middle. Her face was pale, eyes wide. She looked at Reed. What if I mess this up? Reed smiled. Then I'll be right there to mess it up with you. That made her laugh, softly. He leaned closer. You once said you weren't meant to carry life. But here you are, carrying a future neither of us expected. Ava whispered, I didn't think I'd ever be part of something. Gentle, Reed wrapped his arms around her. You're part of it now. That night, under a quiet sky, Ava lay on her back beside the fire, staring upward. Her hand rested gently on her stomach. For the first time, she wasn't thinking about chains or scars, or the lab. She was thinking about the heartbeat that had just begun inside her. And the man who had given it to her, not out of power or force, but out of kindness, laughter, and quiet nights under the stars. She whispered, I don't know what comes next. Reed, lying beside her, replied, Maybe that's the beautiful part. She turned to him. I never knew I could feel like this. He reached over and held her hand. That's what love does. It shows you a part of yourself you've never seen. Ava smiled brighter than ever before. She wasn't a failed experiment anymore. She wasn't a non-breeder. She was a mother now, and that meant something powerful, something perfect, and somewhere inside her. A tiny heartbeat agreed. She screamed, but not from fear. Ava gritted her teeth, sweat rolling down her face as her massive body shook. She clutched the edge of the bed they built from broken ship parts and soft furs. Her glowing skin pulsed like fire. Outside, wind howled across the mountain ridge. Inside the small shelter, Reed knelt beside her, holding a wet cloth to her forehead. You're doing great, he whispered. Just a little longer, Ava gasped, her voice strained. I can't. Yes, you can, he said, gripping her hand. You already survived everything they did to you. You already became more than they said you could be. This is just the final step. Tears formed in her glowing eyes. What if I hurt it? What if I'm too strong? Reed leaned closer. You're not too strong. You're just strong enough to bring life into this world. Beside them, the old alien medic guided the birth. Calmly, hands steady. One more push, Ava, one more. Ava roared not with rage, but with power. With strength and fear and love all mixed into one. Her entire body arched forward, and then silence, a soft cry filled the room. The medic gently lifted the newborn and wrapped it in cloth. Reed stared, wide-eyed. The child was beautiful, tiny, glowing slightly, with Ava's silver eyes and his dark brown hair. The medic placed the baby on Ava's chest. Ava looked down, breathing hard. Her large hands trembled as she touched the tiny body curled against her skin. I made this? She asked, voice cracking. Reed nodded. You did. You carried life, and now you're a mother? She laughed and cried and laughed again. I'm holding a future, she whispered. I'm holding proof that they were wrong about me. She stared at her child, then at Reed. I never thought I'd get to be this. Reed wiped his own eyes. You're the strongest person I've ever met, Ava, and now you've become even stronger. Later that night, the wind outside slowed, the storm passed. Inside the shelter, the fire glowed warmly. Ava sat upright, her child asleep in her arms. Reed handed her a bowl of warm soup. She smiled, wider than ever before. Do you remember when I said I wasn't built for love? She asked. He nodded. She looked down at the sleeping child. I think maybe I was always built for this, I just didn't know it yet. Reed touched her shoulder. You weren't built for anything, you were born for this. Born to fight, born to protect, born to love. The child stirred in her arms. Ava gently rocked them. She was careful with her strength now, precise in every movement. She had once feared her body. Now it was a cradle. She had once hated her size. Now it was her shield. She had once believed no one could ever hold her. Now someone tiny held her finger with perfect trust. In the following days, Reed and Ava built a better shelter. Other survivors, alien and human, visited. Some feared Ava's size at first, but when they saw her holding her child, smiling softly, their fear melted. One day, a human girl approached and asked, Are you a protector? Ava smiled down at her. I'm a mother. That's the same thing. Reed stood beside her, hand in hers. They weren't a perfect family. They had no palace, no title, but they had peace. They had love. They had each other. One night, as stars filled the sky again, Ava stood outside holding her child. She whispered into the cool air, I once thought I was only built to break things. Now I know I was meant to build something better. Reed stepped behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. What will we name her? He asked. Ava looked at the baby's glowing eyes. Let's name her Hope, because that's what she gave me. And as wind swept gently across the mountain, the strongest girl in the galaxy, once chained, once forgotten, stood tall. Not as a weapon, not as an outcast, but as a mother, the strongest mother alive.